Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Juneann Lewis True Life Story. I know that people last week sent me comments in regards to the last show talking about education and degrees, and I just want to clear that up. Somebody sent me, by the way, saying thank you so much for giving that information. They had never heard it like that, and they appreciate it. But someone else expressed that they had a degree and this person have a doctorate, and obviously I wasn't speaking about doctors. I know that doctors and lawyers and those people, if they are going to run their practice, and they are considered entrepreneurs if they're working for themselves, and some of them go on to be business people, that they have to have a degree. So I just want to clear that up from last week. Let's start off with some housekeeping. Want to say that if you do like my program, please do subscribe, like, and comment. I love to hear from you guys, any comments that you have. But anyway, on to the news story this week. First, before I do that, let me thank my sponsor, Vitally. My program is sponsored by Vitally, and you can check out Vitally on vitally.com, and they do an excellent job in skincare. So wonderful, wonderful products. I love it. As I said, I use the product myself, but beside that, they just happen to be my sponsor as well. All right, let's move on to where I need to go this week. And this week, I know it's going to be a little hard for me because this week I'm actually talking about sexual abuse. I share this with you, my brothers and sisters. We can make this world a better place, but it takes each and every one of us. I'm not ashamed to share with you. Somebody says, isn't she ashamed? No, because that's what society wants you to do, to be ashamed. And when you are ashamed, that's when it's kept quiet. And that's why this thing continues to happen, is because too many people are ashamed and embarrassed. Somebody's got to be the bold one. I told you I would know I was different since I was younger. I know I'm different today. Yes, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak, and I'm not going to be ashamed. Nobody, let me make that clear, should be sexually abused. But generally it happens to smaller children because people are under the assumption that ain't number one, the children are not going to remember. Unfortunately, I've got to tell you, they do. My first sexual encounter, I did not understand what was going on, but I remembered it. It was a few days after my mother had left and came to the US, it happened. So I want to say that please don't think that they're not going to remember. I'm not going to call names because these are family members that have went on with their lives. I kept the secret because of several reasons. Number one, all the family members who knew treated it as if it was an outcast situation. It was, if I did it myself, oh, you bad girl, is basically the type of feeling and the energy that it was. And so I didn't feel safe telling anyone. And my mother was so far, I didn't feel safe telling her, for fear if she said something to somebody, then the repercussions could come back to me. So I kept it a secret, and it happened. I'm gonna delve into it today, and I'm gonna talk about it mainly from the standpoint of what happened in my mindset, not what physically happened to me. Everybody know what sexual abuse is. Okay, so I want to start off with a message for parents and any type of adults that's responsible for children, because this should not happen to anyone. No one should ever be sexually molested, but I know most of the time it's perpetrated on children. Children who, by the way, do trust and love these adults that are perpetrating on the children, okay? So I want to say to you that don't ever think that they forget. If a child is 2 years or older, the odds are they have not forgotten what has happened. It might be something that's stuck in their mind and they don't remember it as yet, but they will eventually remember. The bad part about it is that even when adults find out, sometimes they're covering up and hiding because they themselves might have been sexually abused either by that person or sexually abused, period. And so all they know, especially back in the olden days, that all they do is cover it up and they don't say anything. And then sometimes they look at you like it's something that you caused upon yourself. So parents, I say to you, mothers, and I say that because lots of times, even though women might be abusers too, most of the times it's men that they are the abusers. And for that particular reason, mothers and females and women, please, when children come to you, do not say you don't believe it. If a child is expressing that, it's because it's something that happened to them. And even to the other little ones that see it, When they tell it, sometimes the adults are hiding it and they act as if they didn't hear. I know that was my situation. For one particular sexual encounter for me, adults had heard about it and they didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. They left it alone. And it's as if, oh, well, that must what she must want. She's a bad little girl. That was not so. I couldn't do anything. I needed help. And I couldn't do anything. Again, today, it's not to discredit anyone. I'm just expressing, because most of the times people don't realize that those things, when they happen, a child need help, or maybe sometimes they feel helpless. Please seek help wherever you can. Make sure that a child is not abused. And for those abusers or anyone intending to abuse a child, please remember that that child do remember, and it scars them for life. Okay, if they have to work it out themselves, if they can't figure out how to work it out, then it's a scar onto them. Thank God for me and my life that I was able to work it out. Today, I can forgive enough, because even though some of them are alive, not all of them, 2 of them are dead, but even though they're alive, I can tell you today, I can still express love as a human being one to another, because they're family members. That was not so for a while. For a while, I went through bitterness and resentment within my life, but I was able to turn that around through reading books, as I said, and the help of psychiatrists and other people around, and speaking. And even speaking here today, I can say to you that that has been a big help to me. So for someone, if you truly have abused a child, or even if you're thinking about doing it, especially mothers, and I don't want to label this, but most of the times it's happening when women let men come into their lives, or even loved ones within the family. Please don't. I know I sound as if I'm repeating it, but from a child that was hurt, who, thank God for all the things that happened into my life, I have to say there, before the grace of God, because I happen to encounter several other females that this has happened to, and by the way, males. I've known of some people that are homosexual, and do you know what they told me? The reason that they're homosexual is because they were sexually abused as young little boys. What a sad situation. What a sad situation that the fate of someone's life was determined by an act of someone who didn't realize the demons that was in them, and a result of what would happen based on what they have done. So today, I thought I was going to say more. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to. It's really hitting me. Not because of anything other than remembrance and thinking about other people. Sexual abuse is one of the worst things. It's right up there with physical abuse. That's trauma to a child. Even when it looks like, oh, okay, you're tricking them into feeling something. Yeah, it's trauma to a child. Somebody today, please hear me. I'm speaking to somebody who's ashamed and feel like nobody knows, and they're going to call you bad girl and bad boy. Please, if it's happened to you and it's still happening to you, express it. If you feel like it's something you want somebody to know because you want to stop it, please do. I understand that this program is actually for adults and it's not for children, but parents, question your children. Women, mothers, ask your children questions. Fathers, ask your children questions, because I know there are good fathers out there, lots of good fathers, lots of good uncles and aunts. But these demons follow from other generations. I made a decision in my life that I was going to share that with my children, and I was going to stop generational curses. I did an interview many years ago with a young lady, and by the time she was 23, she had 5 children. She started being sexually abused as a child, and it went on for years and years, and these were by family members that did it. One of them actually became a pastor. And as she was a young lady, her mom had given her up to her grandmother. Her mother was on drugs, and so she wasn't around. And so she got involved with a young man and had her first child at 13. And by the time she was 23, because of the way life was for her. She had had 5 children. I spoke to another young man who, because he was sexually abused as a young child, he became a homosexual. I know a lot of times as Christians, we scorn these young people when they're homosexuals, these young men when they're homosexual. But dig back and find out what happened to that young man, why it is that he is the way he is that spirit that was put on him. And that's why he's the way he is. Some young ladies, unfortunately, they don't escape it and they wind up in all sorts of things. I thank God for the mercy that he had given me. That today I'm a woman, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. And I was able to escape the snare of what somebody that's been sexually abused by 5 different people escape. It's a sad moment even as I speak this. And the only reason I'm speaking is because it must be heard. It must be heard. We have to speak about it. That's the only way it's going to be stopped. Somebody else needs to speak up. Somebody else needs to say, a child, whoever it's happened to, you need to speak up. So I say to you today, this is serious. And somebody said, Juneann, you're talking your business. If I don't speak up and other people like me don't speak up, it is going to continue. We've got to force people to stop, just like physical abuse. Just like mental abuse, we've got to force people and show people, because sick people do sick things. You need help, you need to find a psychiatrist, you need to find somebody. Reach out to a school member, reach out to a school teacher, reach out to somebody and tell them. I know lots of times it hurt, because in some cases children get separated from their parents and the child is scared. They don't want to tell anybody anything. If it's an uncle, if it's an auntie, if it's a family member doing it, they don't want to say anything because they love auntie so-and-so and they love uncle so-and-so. I'm not saying that women do it, but I know it happens with women too. It's never happened to me. All my encounters were men. No female in my family has ever done me anything. But I've heard that it happened to females as well, that females do this. The weird thing about me in my life, because this has happened to me, I started encountering other people who, because I expressed it, started telling me their stories. And so today, this is going to be a short show, because I can tell you, I know that I can't go anymore. I just want to express this. I'm going to put a number up there, a crisis line, that regardless wherever you are in the world, that you can probably get a hold of it. I'll put a crisis information on here, so that if you have any problems, you can reach out to the crisis line. Anyway, I want to talk about physical abuse, because physical abuse and mental abuse is just as bad as sexual abuse. I was physically abused twice by my husband. Both times family members were there. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that he thought the way that things were, I didn't get along with his family members. And maybe to appease them, to let them feel good. I'm going to show I don't always treat her the right way. I don't know what it was. But anyway, one time it was in Germany. The first time it happened. The other time, his other family member was there, a younger family member. And I wind up calling the police. That's what stopped it. Somebody had called the second time. Somebody had called the house. A woman had called the house. And I got upset immediately, and I told her, I said, you know what, you literally can have him. I believe it might have been the same young lady that he was seeing. Anyway, I said to her at that point, I said, you can have him on the phone. And he got upset when he got off, and we got into an argument, and that was it. And he laid his hands on me. I didn't say anything. I shut my mouth and I went upstairs and I called 911 and called the police. When the police got there, to my surprise, my husband's entire attitude changed. I mean, like, he was such a positive person. He said, "Oh, no problem, you leave," and da 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 da. But even though that had happened, it was still my husband. I still love him. And to show women sometimes, I look back in my life and I look back at some of the things that I allowed to happen in my life, and I realize it's because of some of the things that happened in my past life as well, the trauma. Because I'd known my husband since I was 15 years of age when we started dating. I knew him from Ghana, but when I came to the United States, we met each other again because our families had known each other, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. So I had a little boyfriend back, when you're younger, you're in school and you say, "This is my boyfriend," back in Ghana. But it was not the same situation as when I met him. He was truly my boyfriend to the level of I felt something for him. So it so happened that we became boyfriend, and of course you guys know the rest. We started dating at 15. I got married when I was age 21 to him, and then we were married for 31 years when he passed in Kuwait. Well, in that time, the two abuse, the second one, as I said, I called the police, and that's when the abuse stopped. His personality changed. When the police got there, he acted as if he didn't do anything. He got very quiet and calm. And so for women, I say to you today, if abuse is happening, please do call the police. Call the police. And I know lots of times women are scared or embarrassed because the neighbors and the people around are going to be talking. And I'm going to say to you, neighbors, friends, and family, that's not the time for you to talk about anybody or degrade them. They need help at that point. So remember, if it's not happening to you there, but for the grace of God goes you. So I would say to you, help your friends, help your neighbors when you hear things like these happening. And if it's a continued act, if it's a really violent act, I suggest, ladies, please don't stay. Leave. Leave. Take your children and go. I know sometimes it's hurtful and it's painful because when we enter into a union of marriage, our goal, like me, was to have my marriage survive. And I didn't care to some point. Granted, I didn't face the same type of brutalization. So please get up and leave. If you're being sexually abused, get out. If you're being raped in any situation, get out. I'm going to leave it here. I'll put the number at the bottom for anybody that wants it, and I'll continue next week because I thought I could carry on, but this is a little much for me. But I'll share with you some more next week. Talk to you guys later. Love you.